tonight we're going to be making Instant Pot apple butter. So the Instant Pot apple butter is really delicious. It was sort of an experiment, but it turned out really good. And so we're going to share it with you.
This is my bucket of apples.
All seconds. And they work just fine.
So I've got this handy little peeler. I've got this at a thrift store or a flea market or something quite a few years ago, but
Yeah.
my Aunt Brenda had one of these as a kid, and she always used this to make all her apple pies. And I thought it was the greatest thing because anytime I did it, I always had to use a knife and core them and peel them. And
That's what we had to do. We didn't have one of these.
this thing is just awesome. I think hers does a better job, or did a better job. I'm sure she still has it, but this thing is like a lifesaver.
You want a cutting board? I'm going to get one out.
So it works really well on these seconds, on the apples that are seconds here, because it peels everything off, and then you can just peel out your bad spots if there is any. There hasn't been a lot on this one. I'm going to put this back over so you guys can see this a little better.
It just peels it and slices it in spirals. It's pretty cool.
This is the original spiralizer.
And we just put it in just like that. We'll cut out any bad spots if there's rotten spots, but
And you could do this with skins on, I guess. I don't see any reason why you necessarily couldn't.
would it change the texture, you think?
It probably would a little bit, but you're still like this method. You're still pureeing it, so I don't see that it would be terribly bad.
Maybe do something.
Making it easy. I should have done some of those already. Of course, then they'll.
I just think that thing is the most amazing tool ever.
You could do potatoes on it, whatever, I have one that a friend made that does potatoes kind of like this. It'll peel them and slice them. That's it's a little different. It doesn't core them, I guess. Like this cores the apples, it doesn't core them. So we are this has been about 20 apples altogether. We're mixing two kinds here. What were they? They weren't Red Delicious, were they?
No, we got Jonathan's and Jonagold's.
So we did like roughly, I think, you just want equal volume, I guess. We did, this will give you what, about 12, 14 cups of peeled apples in the Instant Pot on the 6-quart.
You'll end up, the apple butter, you'll end up with about 4 to 6 pints.
Yeah, Nancy says she thinks the slices like this help them to cook a little quicker. Really big spot on the side of it there. Got some peeling stuck. You gotta watch it a little bit to get some peeling stuck. So there's multiple ways. I've seen multiple people do this different ways. Some people cook the apples themselves and then put the other ingredients in and like for the Instant Pot. I've seen multiple ways of people doing it. Like I said, some people cook the apples by themselves and then kind of puree it with the materials in it, but
Oh, I need those out.
hang on 1 second, let me get this off. I like doing it all together.
So we're gonna put in, as soon as I can get to my measuring cups, we're gonna put in a quarter cup of water and a quarter cup of molasses. And I'm not using blackstrap, I'm using regular. I've used blackstrap in the past, it's really up to personal preference. But when I used blackstrap, I felt like the apple butter was, and it could have been the cinnamon sticks too, but I felt like it was a little bit bitter. So this actually turned out better with the regular. I don't know if it makes a huge difference, but I felt like it did. And so we're gonna put a quarter cup of water in. I gotta look at my recipe again, and then we're doing a quarter cup of molasses. It's a glass bottle, so this could take a while. I'm just gonna scrape it in. So once you get your molasses in, then we're gonna put the sugar in. And I think I did half a cup of granulated or raw sugar, and then half a cup of brown sugar. So we're just gonna put that right in.
You done with molasses?
Yep. Whoa, nice. Okay, and then half a cup of brown sugar. Oops. Alright, so we got our brown sugar in. I put half a cup of brown sugar just in case we lost you before. Now we're gonna do half teaspoons all around of nutmeg. Those apples. Cloves, allspice, and cinnamon.
That's ground cloves, not whole
Yeah,
cloves.
ground cloves. Don't be like cinnamon sticks.
How much cloves do I need?
Just half a teaspoon. That has vanilla in it, by the way, just so you know.
I'm using it to take the thing from the lid off.
Alright, so I did the cinnamon. I'm gonna put the allspice. Oh, please tell me we have more allspice. I think we do. Yeah, we did when I made that. I'll get the full bottle of allspice in a minute, but I'll go ahead and put the nutmeg in. Make sure this is nutmeg, and it is.
You need an allspice, you said?
Yeah, I had one down there. I don't know. I got the wrong one, I guess. Alright.
We did half a teaspoon of ground cloves.
Alright. So, after that, all we have left, look at my recipe again, is we need a teaspoon of lemon juice and a teaspoon of vanilla. You want to do vanilla and I'll grab the lemon juice?
And then a quart, did you put water in yet?
Yeah, I did. I already put that in.
Okay.
Alright, so throw this in there. I'm just going to do this over this time.
This is a little fuller than last time. I'm going to mash it down just a little bit, with some air pockets out.
Alright, so a teaspoon of lemon juice. Now you're all set. That's it.
So it doesn't have to necessarily be stirred up or anything at this point. You'll stir it up later. They will all kind of come together as it's cooking.
And it smells so good. It smells like fall to me. I don't know, it just...
Gotta stop lifting things like that. It's a lot of cloves. So your Instant Pot, you just run manual. I'm gonna cut down to 12 minutes.
Okay, so we're gonna do 12 minutes this time. In the recipe, we actually recommended just letting it naturally release after it cooks. Is that how you say it?
Yeah. I have no problem with that.
You're
So.
an unorganized cooks. Actually, a pretty good name.
Messy chef.
Messy Chef. That's really good, yeah. The Messy Duo.
So you can see it. You know, the apples come out. They look like they've been baked a little bit, but you still got the liquid on there. I'm gonna.
It smells so good. It smells so good. Well, we can see if anybody has questions while we're doing this. Nancy says she was impatient, did a manual release with the applesauce. She had sauce shooting out and oozing on the counter for a couple minutes. I actually saw someone else in the Instant Pot community. They had made applesauce, and I don't know what happened, but it was shooting out all over their kitchen. It was a mess.
You've got to really release it slowly. That's the biggest thing is because everything's under pressure, the water's under pressure, it has a higher boiling point. So the minute that you start releasing it, it comes to a rapid boil, and the pressure increases a little quicker. And if you're not, like you've seen it, ours do that a couple times with chicken and stuff, it'll just start squirting everywhere.
Yeah.
But, and then once it does that, you can't sit there close to it because it gets on you. So, got everything in the blender. It's gonna get noisy for a minute.
Oh, it's gonna be so worth it. It's so good.
That is done. Where'd my...
You can either freeze it or can it. We've just been freezing it because it's a little bit easier right now. But you want to make sure you have your jars prepared ahead of time. If you're canning them, of course, you have to sterilize and all that.
That's delicious.
Is it good?
It is. Just sneak off in the corner with this.
That would not be good for
And then
you.
you find me dead later.
That would not be good for you. Oh boy.
So if you're freezing, if you're canning these, you're going to want these jars nice and hot, sterilized. So I have lids on the.
Really good.
I've got lids for these sitting in the pan of hot water on the stove.
I'm gonna put that one in the fridge. Because I think our other jar is gonna be out before we know it.
Got more?
Oh yeah, Mark.
Come on. So we almost got 6 pints out of this.
Yeah, not bad.
Not bad at all. And really, honestly, I mean, I don't see any difference between what we made the other night with the putting it on for more time than it is right now.
Yeah. So on it, it's probably less time for them. I'm gonna
But-
try a bite of it.
Altitude and everything like that changes.
I ate out, so we'll stick this one in the fridge. Tastes more apple-y than this time. No, if that's a word.
It's because we have more apples.
Mm-hmm. We did. We put a couple extra apples in this time. I think we did 22. Is that right? 22 apples.
Probably 24 by the time it's
24.
done.
And there we go.
So then you just put your lids on and
Are these gonna be too hot for that?
no. I thought I put a lid on it.
Mm-mm. I wondered why you skipped it.
Did you take my lid?
No, I
I
didn't.
took it. I saw you.
I thought you had a reason.
They got stacked on top of each other. All right. So there you have it. These don't have to be like extremely tight. They're gonna go in the freezer, but I would let them sit for probably a couple hours just to cool off a little bit. Set them back on your cabinet or wherever you want to place them. Let them just cool down. They're gonna be a fairly big shock to put in the freezer for them.